This is VSiN's, the sports betting network.
You're watching VSiN's College Football Tailgate Show right here on VSiN, the sports betting network, where you get your winners.
Noon window about to get underway, and we are rolling strong for another hour. I am Tim Murray, your host here on the VSiN College Football Tailgate Show. A bunch of great games to get to later on today, including Cal hosting Miami, your classic ACC rivalry. You want to hear from a Heisman Trophy winner? No big deal. Gino Torretta, he's going to join the program coming up in less than 15 minutes. Live from Berkeley, he will be on the radio call of this game, Touchdown Radio, later on. Of course, Gino winning the Heisman Trophy back in 1992. About to get underway in a handful of spots across the country, including Missouri at Texas A&M, and we are still unsure for certain who will be the starting quarterback. It sounds like it will be Connor Weigman getting the start, but Marcel Reed, I would imagine we will see him at points during the game today. Missouri, a 3-point underdog on the road at Texas A&M. Texas A&M, a best bet for me. And let's hear from Eli Drinkowitz, the head coach of Missouri, on one of those two quarterbacks, Marcel Reed, and the athleticism he brings to the table.
Interesting connection. Marcel's sister, Bria Reed, is our assistant director of on-campus recruiting here at the University of Missouri. So she's not allowed at practice this week. And didn't know that until about 3 weeks ago when he started at Florida and won. One of the staff members told me. So obviously happy for their family, and Bria does an excellent job here, and we're very fortunate for her to be on our staff here.
Gotta love college football. The sister of the starting quarterback, maybe, of Texas A&M is on the staff of Missouri. So she was not allowed to practice this week, according to Eli Drinkowitz. That game about to get underway. We heard from Stormy Bonatoni on the sideline. She didn't even know who the starting quarterback was. We did see a report courtesy of the Texas A&M radio network that it is going to be Connor Weigman. So it seems like that is the latest news we've got. We'll know moments from now who will be the starting quarterback. We do know who the starting quarterback will be for Tennessee. It is Nico Iamaleava, and he is off to a solid start to the year. I would have liked, if I'm going to lose my bet like I did with Oklahoma 2 weeks ago, I was really hoping for like a 400-yard performance from Nico. Was not the case, but he heads down to Fayetteville, and we just heard from Chris Doering about a half hour ago, and I tend to side with Chris here on this one. Tennessee has looked the part every which way, but laying 14, hostile environment, is this the spot to maybe take a look at calling the Hogs? Woo Pig Suey. Haven't gotten the window yet. I imagine the money continues to file in on Tennessee, but let's hear from Sam Pittman and the challenges that Nico Iamaleava brings to the table.
He does what he needs to do. He's got a lot of opportunities to shine in his offense. He doesn't make mistakes, and then he does it at a high level. He's scary because he's not going to make mistakes, and he's going to run the offense to a perfection. And for a young guy like that, he's just really impressive.
Tennessee, 14-point favorite in that one. Not the biggest need, at least
on the backbone of the run game to create those explosives.
At least at Tennessee, or at least at stations, I should say. So 14-point spread for that one. By the way, just taking a look at Missouri, Texas A&M, a couple shops have gone back under the key of 3, and a little late over money hitting the market there, getting it up to 48. Open 49.5, back down to 2.5. How about this? We have a flip of favorites in a game that I am on. I joked with producer Dustin that when line movement goes in my favor, I don't know, 50-50. But when line movement goes against me, I'm pretty sure I'm winless. So not a great situation brewing, at least from a point spread perspective, with Michigan and Washington. Right now, DraftKings still has Washington a 1-point favorite, but right behind me on that big board, Michigan has flipped to a favorite against Washington. I disagree with it. I bet Washington earlier this week at a worse number, laid the money line with the Huskies, and now looking at money line opportunities out there, you can get minus 105 on Washington to win the game. The question we have all been wondering is this offense for Michigan. Can we trust it going into this game on the road at Husky Stadium? First road game of the year for the Michigan Wolverines. Alex Orji really struggles to throw the ball. Let's hear from Kirk Campbell, the offensive coordinator of Michigan, on what has been going on with this offense and why it's been just so inconsistent.
Yeah, so obviously against USC, we had a couple of short drives. We had explosive run, right? It's hard to drive the field in college football, 14, 15 plays. When you do, that's great. That's outstanding. But it's hard. Defense is going to make a play. They're going to make a call. They're going to make an adjustment. The explosiveness that we mentioned earlier in the pass game needs to show up so we get faster drives, right? Now, do we need to score in 1 minute, 2 minute like these air raid teams? No, that's not what we're asking for. But it's easier in 7, 8 play drives when you get explosive plays in the throw game. Just can't rely on the backbone of the run game to create those explosives. Obviously, that happened against USC. We're thankful for that, but it's not a reality that's sustainable through a course of a season.
How about the fact that Washington, and you got to finish games, there's no doubt about that, but Washington had a post-game win expectancy last Friday night in a 21-18 loss to Rutgers of 96.7%. They outgained Rutgers 521 to 299, missed 3 field goals, had no turnovers, and still lost the game. So market's moving in the favor of Michigan. Guess I'm on the wrong side here. I like the Huskies in this spot at home. Market now pick -1 out there on Michigan. Alex Orji, his 2 starts, and it was the right move to make, going to Alex Orji to be the starting quarterback. This was the quarterback we all thought was going to be the starter, and then we're a bit surprised that Davis Warren won the job out of camp. Turnovers were his bugaboo. He turned the ball over 6 times. Alex Orji, we're showing his props here tonight against Washington. The over-under is set at DraftKings at 93. So 93 plus, it's -115. I want to just do a comparison. Alex Orji, over-under passing yards, 93. Ashton Genty, over-under rushing yards, 191.5. So the quarterback of Michigan, his passing prop is 98 yards less than the rushing prop for Boise State's superstar running back. Alex Orji against USC, 7 of 12, 32 yards. Against Minnesota, 10 of 18, 86 yards. They were outgained against Minnesota, 296 to 241. You think back to the USC game, a game that they won on the scoreboard, but they had 0 first downs until their final drive of the game, until Mullings broke that big run into the USC red zone. They had a pick 6 in that game. They had some short field set up by turnovers. You got to prove it to me, man. On the road, Husky Stadium, and I get it. We've talked about it. We've joked about it today on the show, where is this really a rematch of the national championship? 10 months removed, both head coaches, they're gone. Jim Harbaugh to the LA Chargers, Kalen DeBoer to Alabama. Kalen DeBoer's right-hand man, offensive coordinator Ryan Grubb, came with him to Alabama, then left to go to the Seattle Seahawks. Jesse Minter, defensive coordinator of Michigan, went with Harbaugh to the NFL. J.J. McCarthy's in the NFL. Blake Corum's in the NFL. Michael Penix is in the NFL. Roma Dunze's in the NFL. Everybody's gone. I just like Washington here. I like them in this spot. Prove it to me. Kind of like Missouri. Prove it to me today. Is that game underway? I need Michigan to prove it to me. The same could be said about Ohio State, because who have they played so far this year? They've looked the part for the majority of the year, right? But let's look at their schedule to this point, as they have opened the season against Western Michigan, or against Akron. My apologies to the Zips. Then it was Western Michigan. Then it was Marshall. And last week, Michigan State was driving a bit, but ultimately lost that game 38-7. So Ohio State, 4-0, 18-point favorite today against Iowa. And is this a look-ahead spot for the Ohio State Buckeyes heading to Oregon next week. Kirk Ferentz, I have a crazy stat about Iowa against ranked teams for you, but I want to hear from Kirk Ferentz as his Hawkeyes, off a bye, head to Columbus this afternoon for a showdown against a top 5 team.
It kind of goes back. We've been playing pretty good defense. It's an old narrative. I mean, we've played pretty well defensively. We've had issues with the offensive line. And then last year we obviously had some challenges at the quarterback spot. So it's yesterday's news. And if you're going to play a team that is nationally ranked, top 10 team, and, those teams you mentioned typically are in that neighborhood, I'm not saying you got to be firing on all 3 cylinders, but it sure helps. It gives you a chance. And, I guess I look at it the other way. I look at last year. I'll go back to that, because I know a lot's been written about how many points we scored against whoever it was a year ago. And, I think maybe you look at it the other way. Maybe we did a hell of a job winning 10 games. So there's 2 ways to look at every coin. And talent, there's ebb and flow of talent. I've been here 25 years, going on 26 now, and it's true each and every year. Every year's got its own challenges. You deal with the challenges that are in front of you. Try to play to your strengths and do the best you can on an annual basis.
So Iowa right now getting money, continuing to get money, right now down to 17 across the market. And this was a spot earlier today when we talked to Chuck Esposito that this was the pros versus Joes game, where the pros were taking the points with Iowa. The public was laying it with Ohio State. If you are laying it with Ohio State, I've got a stat for you that's going to make you happy. Iowa playing their first ranked opponent this season. Last year, they played 3 ranked teams. They were outscored 92-0 in those games, and they have lost 7 straight games against AP-ranked opponents, outscored by 27 points per game in those contests. All right, we keep it rolling here. We talk to Heisman winner Gino Torretta, breaking down Miami Cal. He joins us next.
Time. There's nothing more valuable. It's what drives everyone to make the most of every moment. We celebrate living large in the now. In a city where time disappears, we create experiences that electrify the soul and memories that will last forever. We go big, we go all night, and here, everyone is invited. So get loose and get loud.
This is Circa. You'll have the time of your life.
Coming up Monday on Follow the Money, playoff baseball, baby. We also recap a wild weekend, college, NFL, and Chiefs and Saints Monday Night Football. Follow the Money weekdays 4 to 7 Eastern on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Want to see who at VSiN is on a hot streak? Go to VSiN.com/picks to see all the selections and weekly leaderboard of VSiN hosts, writers, and guests. Become a VSiN Pro subscriber and get every pick sent to your inbox daily. Just head to VSiN.com/pro.
VSiN is thrilled to introduce a new VSiN.com tailor-made to the evolved needs of today's sports bettors. Our upgraded navigation streamlines your journey, allowing you to swiftly access articles, videos, and podcasts. Whether you're tuning in live or catching up on your favorite shows, everything is just a click away. VSiN.com guarantees a fluid and responsive experience across all devices, ensuring you stay connected wherever you are. We have enhanced tools such as our betting splits and expert picks, and introduce innovative features like parlay and odds calculators, all designed to make you a sharper bettor. Our How to Bet section is perfect for beginners, covering the fundamentals, while seasoned bettors can delve into our advanced betting strategies for the competitive edge you've been looking for. Sign up for free on VSiN.com or become a VSiN Pro subscriber, where you can unlock unlimited access to every tool, expert picks, and insight that make VSiN the sports betting network.
watching VSiN's College Football Tailgate Show right here on VSiN, the sports betting network, where you get your winners.
Keep it rolling. Games underway, and boy, people are not happy as a flag was picked up on a 4th down attempt by the Missouri Tigers. It looked like it was going to be pass interference against Luther Burden. After further discussion, they picked up the flag, and now Texas A&M with the ball. We just had offsetting penalties in Texas A&M and Missouri. Connor Weigman is the starting quarterback, and A&M now out into Missouri territory, scoreless right there in that one. Live line has Texas A&M minus 4.5. SMU strikes first. The Ponies into the end zone as they lead 7-0 over Louisville. So a very easy drive there for Texas A&M, or excuse me, for SMU to get into the end zone. Scoreless still in Navy and Air Force, a game where we've seen a lot of money on Navy. That number down to 7.5 in game at DraftKings between the two service academies. By the way, just keeping an update, it was Connor Weigman who did get the start for Texas A&M as they are driving now inside the 30-yard line of Missouri. One of my best bets was Texas A&M here in this spot, so hopefully that does come home. That was the only game. No, that's not true. I had Louisville on a money line parlay as they early trail now 7-0. So it's always one of those spots, right, where most of the week, Louisville was laying 6.5, 7, and now they're 2.5 in game at DraftKings. So you wait a while, and you might get a better number, especially if the team you're looking to back does grab an early touchdown. So that's an update on where we stand on those early games. We'll keep you posted on Texas A&M and Missouri, and the night will end out in Berkeley as Cal will be hosting Miami in a showdown of a top 10 team on the road. We've got 8 top 15 teams on the road, and a gentleman who knows a thing or two about Miami, won the Heisman Trophy for the Canes back in 1992, and will be on the call of this game on Touchdown Radio, which is available on the Odyssey app, local stations across the country, as well as SiriusXM. It is Gino Toretta who joins us courtesy of our progressive guest line. Gino, set the scene for us because we saw glimpses of it from College Game Day. As crazy as it sounds for this ACC showdown, it seems like the atmosphere out in Berkeley is pretty solid.
Well, it's now the Any Coast Conference, so anybody on a coast can join the conference. I think I will say this: I grew up out here. I grew up about 5 miles from Cal Berkeley, and I think I landed at about 10 o'clock Wednesday night to see some family, and it was 85 degrees driving over the Bay Bridge, which is unseasonably, and it's never that hot at this point in time. So I think Miami will obviously like the warm weather. I'm not big on the 10:30 Eastern start for them because of the body clocks, but it's just a gorgeous environment. I mean, listen, Cal doesn't fill up the stadium all the time, but when you go up to the top of the stadium and look out the backside of it, and you can see the Bay Bridge and the Golden Gate and the San Francisco Bay. I don't know if there's a prettier setting to go watch some college football and see if Miami can handle the road environment.
Well, as a former quarterback, watching the current quarterback of Miami, a gentleman who could join your pretty exclusive fraternity. A lot of football still to be played, but we will see. Based off of the odds, he's certainly in the discussion. What has impressed you, Gino, about Cam Ward this year, and what should we expect from him tonight against a always tricky Cal defense from Justin Wilcox?
Well, I would say, he's cool, he's calm, he's been the leader that the team needed. He's worked hard. He's probably one of the hardest working guys on the team, and they follow him, which is great. He was in the same similar system at Washington State, so that's why he's operated at such a high level early in the season. And it's just been fun to watch. He doesn't seem to get too up or too down. And even when he's made some mistakes and they've been on the ropes, he's been cool and calm. And you're right about Wilcox. I mean, Wilcox has had 2 weeks to prepare for Miami. He's obviously probably watched the Virginia Tech tape numerous times. And I'm curious to see what he puts together, because I mean, he's a head coach because of what he did as a defensive coordinator. So I'm sure they'll have a great scheme, and we'll see if Miami can adjust. I think the best way to adjust, I think, with coverage schemes is if they can get Fletcher and Martinez on the ground rolling, and then they should have some success.
Gino Torretta joining us here on our Progressive Guest Line. He'll be on the call of his alma mater's game on the national call, Touchdown Radio, available on the Odyssey app, local stations across the country, as well as Sirius XM. Gino won the Heisman Trophy back in 1992. We've talked about it a bunch, Gino, which is the familiarity that Justin Wilcox and Mario Cristobal have for one another. And Justin Wilcox, the last 3 times that they faced each other, when Cristobal was at Oregon and Wilcox remains at Cal, games are pretty close. Cal won one of them. They've covered all 3 of them. What is it about Justin Wilcox that makes him a tricky coach to go against, especially when he's in this role? And what I mean by that underdog role, as they're about a 10-point underdog heading into this game at home tonight.
Well, I think what it is I mean, obviously, if you look at 2 rosters, Miami's probably, I think if we can all agree, Miami top to bottom's got the better roster, for the weekend. But I think what Justin, he's very cerebral, and I think that he's seen, obviously he's seen all these offenses before. He's seen what works against Washington State, and I think that you just can't get too set in what you're doing against an offense. And I think, what that means is, I go back to college and, I might saw 3 fronts, maybe 3 coverages, a couple blitzes. And what makes him, I think, successful is every so often you throw in something that they haven't seen or that's not a top 3 tendency for the defense. And when you do that, you force mistakes. The quarterback makes a mistake. He hasn't seen this in a while, or he hasn't seen it on game tape in 2024. And the quarterback maybe try to force the ball. The quarterback throws in a lane. I think Virginia Tech did that, last week. I think, Cam was trying to throw a wheel route to Restrepo down the right side in the red zone. And the zone defender just baited him to throw it flat. He threw it flat, and the guy picked it off and almost ran it back for a touchdown. So I think those kinds of wrinkles always, to me as a quarterback, always mess with a quarterback's head, because you're thinking, okay, I see 2. Are they going to, man-free? Are they rotating? What are they doing? And the quicker you can process that. But that's why I think he's a great defensive coordinator, because you don't need to do it a lot. You just need to throw a wrinkle in every so often, because coaches are the masters of, they will just over worry about things. And, if they see one play of a defense one time, you rep it 25 times in practice.
Torretta joining us here. He'll be on the call nationwide on Touchdown Radio. You could head over to touchdownradio.com to see all the affiliates, as well as catch them on Sirius XM. Gino, before I let you run, I do know you've called a couple Georgia games this year, and you called Auburn last week. Those 2 teams go head-to-head today. I'm not sure, how much you took away from Georgia's performance last week against Alabama, but bigger picture, looking at Georgia, the 2 times that you've called them, do you still believe this team has the goods to win a national championship despite the loss last Saturday against Alabama?
I would say this. They have the personnel. I would say they're top 5, or top 12, no question, by the end of the season. I don't think there's any question there. I saw them against Clemson, and I was like, wow, okay, this team's legit. Saw them against Kentucky, and really Kentucky should have beat them had the quarterback not held the ball and fumbled it, gave him 3 points, and Kentucky would have won the game. And I would probably say weaknesses, they don't have guys on the outside that can run away from coverage and make plays. I think that, that's an issue. I think that the checking and audibling at the line of scrimmage, it doesn't seem like Beck has the freedom that Stetson Bennett did. Now, I get Stetson Bennett started for a bunch of years, but, Beck was a starter last year. And there are times when, I see in the booth it's a bad play or a certain look that you should do, run the ball or throw it to the outside, and they won't do it. And that was kind of that was head scratching to me, if you will, because he has the arm strength, athleticism, and that. and I think last week they just went for it on every fourth down, and they got 5 in a row, and they couldn't flip the script on Bama, and that's where I think they came back. But I don't think you're going to see them go going for it on fourth down all the time. But talent-wise, they have the talent that for sure top 12. Number one, yes, they can beat anybody, but they obviously didn't just beat Alabama. So
he is Gino Torretta, won the Heisman in 1992, and now he'll be on the call of his alma mater tonight nationwide on Touchdown Radio. Gino, appreciate the insight.
Anytime, guys.
There he is, Gino Torretta, giving us his thoughts on Cal and Miami. We're going to go no huddle. Get through as many games as possible. Also get you updated on what's going on across the country. Texas A&M and Missouri underway. Giga Maggie with that early lead. It is VSiN's College Football Tailgate Show.
VSiN's got you covered for the start of the season with our football special. For $175, you'll get access to everything VSiN has to offer. With VSiN Pro, you'll receive daily picks straight to your inbox, detailed analysis on every game, and exclusive data like our betting splits to help you become a sharper bettor. Get all of this for just $175 through the Super Bowl. Or try a monthly subscription and get your first 30 days for only $9.99. Don't miss out on this offer. Sign up now at VSiN.com/subscribe.
This is VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
You're watching VSiN's College Football Tailgate Show right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, where you get your winners.
We keep it rolling along. It is a glorious Saturday, and I echo the sentiments of our guest in the second hour of the program, Chris Doering. These are the days that things get a little wacky, and we are underway. Nothing too wacky just yet. Texas A&M out to a 7-0 lead in game right now. They're a minus 9.5 point favorite, so a good start for one of my best bets, but long ways to go in that one. It feels like it's going to be a shootout between SMU and Louisville as both teams went down the field and scored with ease on their both drives. SMU driving yet again. Your in-game total at 67.5. That game sat at 55.5, went off the board there. SMU and Louisville tied at 7. In America's game, I know the real America's game's Army-Navy. One of the legs of the Commander-in-Chief's trophy. Navy has a 7-0 lead. In-game, 17.5 now. Not music to the ears of Chuck Esposito, who said that the house needed Navy here in this one. We do have an update from Carter Finley Stadium as the medical team is out for Grayson McCall. Grayson McCall had missed the last 2 games, and it does not look promising, as Corey Smith tweeted out, who covers the NC State for Pack Pride. He said, really scary scene here at NC State. So after missing 2 games due to injury, looks like Grayson McCall will be exiting yet again there. So unfortunate there, as Wake Forest has a 3-0 lead, in-game favorites of 2.5. No score yet in Penn State UCLA. Late first quarter, Penn State and UCLA, the Nittany Lions still a minus 21.5 point favorite. We saw a pick 6 in Pittsburgh UNC. So UNC with a 7-3 lead. We'll keep you updated on all the other games as Texas A&M now inside the 30-yard line. But let's get the tempo going. Let's run a little no huddle. Let's go like Georgia did last week. We got to convert some fourth downs here. So let's roll through as many games as possible here, and let's do it with some tempo. So once again, starting at 3:30 on CBS, we got Ohio State and Iowa. Heard from Chuck Esposito from the Red Rock Casino earlier today. Pros versus Joes game. This game down to 17. Public lining up to back Ohio State. Iowa coming off a bye, catching some money in the market. This number down to 17. Maybe a look ahead a little bit for Ohio State as they head out to Oregon next week. Iowa last year against ranked teams outscored 92-0. Auburn at Georgia, ABC, 3:30 Eastern time. Georgia is a 21.5 point favorite. This is another one that's seen a little bit of movement towards the dog in this spot, so we'll see if War Damn Eagle can get it done. 2-3 on the year for Auburn. But hey, good news, they were able to flip a 5-star quarterback recruit earlier this week. Can't win football games, but apparently you can get 5-star recruits. So congratulations to Hugh Freeze. You're doing the important things of, getting recruits, not winning games. Ole Miss at South Carolina. The Rebels. This is a spot where I would have loved to take Ole Miss, but they're coming off a loss to Kentucky. They're a 10-point favorite on the road at South Carolina, 3:30 Eastern game. Indiana at Northwestern. The makeshift field there on the Lake Michigan. I was about to say Lake of Michigan. A 13-point favorite are the Hoosiers. Total down to 40. I'm tempted to take the Purple Cats here, but I'm going to ultimately stay off. I tried to get in front of the Indiana wagon last week. That did not work out well, despite them being -4 in the turnover margin. But this game will kick off at 3:30 Eastern as well. One of the biggest movers from a point spread perspective today, UConn continues to take money in the market. They're out to a 19.5 point favorite against Temple. Stanford at home against Virginia Tech, ACC Network. This is a best bet for yours truly. I took the points with Stanford here against Virginia Tech. Just curious to see the mindset of the Hokies coming off of that devastating loss just a week ago. Ashton Daniels not expected to play. Looks like it will be Justin Lamson for the Cardinal. What I did, I split my unit on this one, took half first half and half on the full game. Rutgers at Nebraska. Do we see a trendy dog situation here? We've seen a lot of under money come in, a lot due to the high wins expected in Lincoln. A 6.5 has just shown up, so maybe some Rutgers money is finally penetrating the market. 7 still out there if you do like the Scarlet Knights. This game going to kick off at 4 o'clock Eastern time as Nebraska laying a touchdown against Rutgers, who is off to a very promising start. There are the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. Let's go to the night slate. USC at Minnesota, a spot that I like. The Golden Gophers here catching 8.5. We'll call the consensus. You can get a 9, you can get an 8, depending on what side you want to be on. Relatively dead number there, even though if we go to double overtime, you're going to want that 8.5. So give me the 8.5 with Minnesota in this spot. USC, I've been impressed, but I'm curious where they are on the old gas tank-o-meter when you look about at Michigan, home to Wisconsin, at Minnesota, home to Penn State next week. I will take the Golden Gophers plus the 8.5 here. Impressed by what I saw from PJ Flex Squad a week ago. Rowing that damn boat. Max Brosmer, the New Hampshire transfer, not great, but getting better. How about a rematch of last year's national championship, Michigan at Washington? This morning, we've seen more Michigan money come in, as now at Circa, Michigan is the favorite at -1. You know, talking to Chuck Esposito earlier today, he said about 62% of the tickets were on the Michigan Wolverines here in this spot. We've seen a flip of favorites, the old Josh Applebaum special. I like Washington. Call me crazy. At home, Michigan is yet to be on the road this year. Alex Orji in home games as a starter has not eclipsed 100 yards, and now he's going to go into a daunting environment there at Husky Stadium. So I'll roll with Washington. Will Rogers, we ride to get us home with a victory here. Give me Washington on the money line in that one. That game, a 7:30 Eastern kickoff there in Seattle. Other games in that 7:30 window. Tennessee at Woo. Pig Suey, Arkansas catching 14. We heard from Sam Pittman earlier this hour going against Nico Iamaleava and the talent that he brings to the table. We've seen money come in mostly on Tennessee. This is a pretty lopsided ticket count. Not the biggest of the day, but a pretty lopsided ticket count on Tennessee. Understand why, as this team has been covering at a very easy pace. I'm real tempted to take Arkansas here, catching the 14 in this spot. Taylon Green, the Boise State transfer, can he extend plays? Can he get things rolling there for Bobby Petrino's offense? So I do like Arkansas. Haven't added it to the card just yet, but that is one that I am certainly eyeing up there. Arkansas catching 14 against Tennessee. Iowa State, also 7:30 Eastern. What do we get from the Cyclones against Baylor? Baylor was a team that I looked back last week. They did not get me to the window against BYU as a slight home favorite. Now they go on the road to Iowa State. Iowa State, quietly, ladies and gentlemen, 4-0, and dare I say the best team in the Big 12. Now, they're just 1-0 in conference play. The other two unbeatens in conference play, BYU, Colorado, and Texas Tech. But Iowa State laying 11.5. You know, for me personally, I've just never loved Matt Campbell in these particular spots as a decent-sized favorite. Market coming down to 11.5 at both DraftKings and Circa, 12.5 at some other spots out there. That is a night game there in Ames as Iowa State is hosting Baylor. Baylor 2-3. Dave Aranda, is he going to be on a hot seat here very soon if things don't come home? UCF and Florida. Florida, a home dog here against UCF. Seen a little bit of Florida money come into the market against UCF. So this one now sits at 1. UCF, how about the turd in the punch bowl they laid last week as a 2-touchdown favorite? Could not get it home against Colorado, losing that game outright. But UCF on the road at Florida in this one. Chris Felica had an interesting tweet earlier this week on this particular situation where, once again, you're finding Florida as a home dog. They have been a home dog, I believe, for the 3rd time this year. This is the 4th straight home game versus an FBS opponent that Florida is an underdog. Gators were a home dog in just 4 of their previous 26 home games from 1992 to 2011. Florida was a home dog in just 4 of 117 home games against FBS opponents. Home dog for a 4th consecutive time. Chris Doring, for what it's worth, did like the Gators here in this spot. How about Duke at Georgia Tech? This has been a number that has touched 10. I like Duke here in this spot against, Georgia Tech, beg your pardon, slip there. Anything under double digits, or if you want to find a money line partner with Georgia Tech, I think this is a brutal spot for Duke, coming off of a win over a rival. I think they're a bit fraudulent. That 5-0 record there. So give me Georgia Tech, anything under 10, or if you want to find a money line partner with the Ramblin' Wreck here. But I think Georgia Tech wins this game and wins this game comfortably. Miami at Cal, late night in Berkeley. College Game Day was there, 10:30 Eastern start time, and this has been a number that's been on the move throughout the week. Cal, last week in the look-ahead lines was sitting as a 2-touchdown favorite. Now some spots are sitting at 9.5 out there for the Golden Bears, catching just 9.5. Justin Wilcox has covered his last 3 games against Mario Cristobal. Slight lean towards Cal. I did take 10.5 a little bit earlier this week. Double digits is certainly the last spot. Also, as it is a late night game, get your cocktail ready, sit down on the couch. Good live game action. If Miami gets an early touchdown, maybe get a better number on the Cal Golden Bears. All right, we wrap up the show. Best bets galore. We'll do that next. Get you updated on all the games across the country as well. It is VSiN's College Football Tailgate Show.
In the heart of downtown Las Vegas, a sports oasis awaits. Stadium Swim, the ultimate outdoor amphitheater, built for the ultimate sports fan, with a colossal screen that brings the game closer than ever. Reserve a daybed, private cabana, or lounge in the center of it all. 6 pools to dive into as the game heats up. And the best part, there's never an off-season. Open 365 days a year. Stadium Swim, it's always spectator season.
Looking for the ultimate sports betting podcasts? VSiN has got you covered. With a wide range of podcasts covering every major sport, we're here to help you make smarter bets every season. The Baseball Betting Show with Greg Peterson gives you daily insights into finding value on each day's MLB card. And check out Long Shots, where we deep dive into the world of golf betting, providing you with expert insights to help you bet every tournament. Find all of these podcasts and more at VSiN.com/podcasts or your favorite podcast platform.
watching VSiN's College Football Tailgate Show right here on VSiN, the sports betting network, where you get your winners.
Putting a bow on the show, it is the VSiN College Football Tailgate Show. Thanks to all of you who have joined me throughout the day here. You can follow me on Twitter at @1TimMurray. Thanks to everyone behind the scenes. Thanks to producer Dustin, Ryan, everyone back there doing a great job getting us rolling and getting you ready for a college football Saturday, which of course is underway. Great start for Texas A&M. They lead 10-0 right now over Missouri, and the Aggies are driving yet again. The biggest liability, at least for Stations Casino in Las Vegas today, was Navy. 94% of the bets earlier this morning when Chuck Esposito joined the show were on the midshipman, and not music to his ears as Navy leads Air Force right now 14-0. Navy looking to improve to 5-0 on the year. One of my best bets is underway, Texas A&M, and another game that is incorporated in a best bet is underway with Louisville and SMU. I took Louisville on a money line parlay. Let's roll through them real quickly. Didn't get the best of the number here with Washington. Market's moving against me, and as I joked, when the market moves against me, I'm pretty sure I'm winless all time. Not 100% on that, but the market is moving towards Michigan, but I like Washington today. I got to prove it to me. Alex Orji on the season is a guy that has thrown for less than 100 yards in both his starts. We know the running capabilities of Mullings, and like to see a little bit more from Donovan Edwards, but I'm going to trust in Washington here at home, coming off a tough loss against Rutgers. So give me Washington on the money line, which now you can get as cheap as minus 105. Mentioned Georgia Tech. Really like the spot for Georgia Tech. If you have not gotten involved in that game, anything under 10, or if you want to pair them up with a money line parlay, I personally put them with Louisville, which looks like that one could be a potential sweat here. So maybe you could find a better dance partner if you'd like to lower that juice there with Georgia Tech. But I think Georgia Tech takes care of business against Duke. West Virginia, I mentioned this on the podcast. By the way, the VSiN College Football Betting Podcast comes out twice a week. Early week, me and Adam Burke, and then late in the week, Matt Humans and I break down games. I got a bad number here on West Virginia. I got 3. It's now down to 2.5 at some shops. This is a spot where normally you would think I would be on Oklahoma State. A buy low situation on the Pokes. Folks, I think there's something seriously wrong with this Oklahoma State team this year. Ollie Gordon has not got it rolling this year whatsoever, has yet to eclipse 80 yards on the ground against an FBS opponent. The only time he's gone over 100 was against South Dakota State in the Week 1 game. And West Virginia coming off a bye here. It's on the road, but I took 3, which is still out there. You can still grab the 3. Certainly don't grab the 2.5 here. I think West Virginia very likely could win this game outright. So a best bet for me is the Mountaineers, hopefully on the road. I know West Virginia was a team that many people backed Week 1 against Penn State. I didn't get there, thankfully, but that was a spot where they didn't look so great. But West Virginia, I'm going to trust in Neil Brown here in this spot. As you see, not great ATS record, but I do like this situation coming off of the bye. Yes, the travel against them hasn't been a great start to the season for West Virginia necessarily, losing to Pitt, losing to Penn State, but I think they get this one today. I'll take the 3 with West Virginia. Late night game, or actually early afternoon game, I should say. Texas Stanford taking on Virginia Tech. I will take the 8 with Stanford here. I split my unit on this game, took first half plus 4, 4.5 were out there earlier this week, and then full game plus 8. I think this is a real tricky spot for Virginia Tech after the brutal loss they had just a week ago against Miami. Maybe they'll prove me wrong. Maybe Brent Pry and company can get his team back off the mat, but now 2-3. What a disappointing start to the year for the Virginia Tech Hokies, a team that many people believe could be like a chic college football playoff squad. I guess anything is possible. Only one ACC loss to this point, and they do play Clemson later on this season. But traveling out to Palo Alto, 12:30 local kick time. Ashton Daniels is not expected to play, so it looks like it will be Justin Lamson for Stanford. But I'll take the 8 with Stanford. Another game that I am on for today is Minnesota. Give me the 8.5s that are out there. with the Golden Gophers against USC. Real tricky situational spot for USC. And I was impressed by Minnesota and what we saw earlier this season, or I guess last week, I should say, there for that one. So another best bet for me. So game's still out there. West Virginia plus the points. Washington on the money line, getting a better number now. Stanford first half, and Stanford full game, splitting the unit, and then Minnesota plus the 8.5. A couple of best bets for me there in that particular spot. Speaking of best bets, every Friday night here on Circa, or on VSiN, the Circa Friday Football Invitational is on the air, and we've got some recaps here of some best bets. A couple of these games have started, but I want to roll through them real quickly as best bets. So 5 entries, 5 of the 25 used Arizona. So that game's still to come. That's a tricky one for me because Arizona, to me, seems like it's in a prime letdown spot, but the folks that I've talked to and that I trust, and obviously very sharp handicappers in the Friday Football Invitational, they like Arizona here in this spot. At home against Texas Tech. Something seems a bit amiss with Texas Tech. Navy minus 9.5. 5 entries used the midshipmen, and that is off to a solid start there for the folks that use Navy as they lead 14-0. 4 entries used Washington, so at least I'm in good company. At least we'll all lose together, apparently, if this game does go that route. But Washington minus 1.5 was a frequently used entry. 4 of the 25 entries used Washington. And then 3 entries out there. Arkansas plus 13.5, which is now at 14. Rutgers, Nebraska under, which has been a steady move to the under all week long with the expected high wins there in Lincoln. That's down to 39 now. UConn was a best bet by 3. That number's been on the move today as well as they take on Temple. That had touched 20. I think it's come back a little bit down now to 17.5. So a little bit of money buyback coming in on Temple. And then Army against Tulsa. Army underway in that one. Tie game against Tulsa early second quarter. Army against the Golden Hurricane of Tulsa. So it should be a good day. I'll say what I said to start the show. I truly believe these are the days that are the craziest. And by the way, a fist pump for this guy as we see Texas A&M, Gig-'em Aggie, get into the end zone to take now a 16-0 lead. Extra point pending. Texas A&M looking like the team that I think many people anticipated to look like heading into week number 1 against Notre Dame, but they did not get there. And for Notre Dame, by the way, all jokes aside, with the Northern Illinois loss, this is a spot that looks pretty good for the Irish there. So we have a couple trends over at VSiN.com that I wanted to hit on here before we bid farewell. How about California? The Cal Golden Bears as a dog. These courtesy of Steve Makinen. Always check these out over at VSiN.com. Steve Makinen's trends. We'll run through a couple of these. Cal, 25-14 ATS as a dog since 2018. Justin Wilcox as a double-digit dog, 15-7 against the spread. Favorites, 6-0 straight up and ATS. I had Clemson last year, and that did not fare all that well against Florida State. In the Clemson-Florida State rivalry, Brock Glenn will get the start there for Florida State. That number has been on the climb as well, as high as 17 out there. Not a good trend for me. Hopefully this trend does not come home. Underdogs are 6-3 straight up, 8-0-1 ATS in the Duke Georgia Tech series. And I am on the Ramble and Wreck today. Have a money line parlay with them. Also roll with them on the spread as well. And the only other number I wanted to mention here, because a couple of those games have started, teams playing as conference road dogs of more than 7 and after not having played since 14 days ago, are hitting at a 57% clip since 2010, and that would apply to Iowa and Ohio State. Iowa not playing last week, and they are on the road at Ohio State, a pros versus Joes showdown there. Iowa at Ohio State. Quick update from what's going on across the country. Live Bet Saturday, by the way, coming up next, and they'll keep you posted on all of the games, not only just college football, but as well as the MLB as well. Wisconsin up 14-0 on Purdue. Pittsburgh just got into the end zone to take a 9-7 lead, extra point pending. Boston College up big with Thomas Castellanos returning, up 14-0, and Texas A&M, that 17-0 lead right now for Gig'em Aggie. SMU leading 14-10 over Louisville. Louisville a 2.5-point favorite in game. Navy up 14-0 on Air Force, and then Wake Forest up 10-3 on NC State. Once again, big news out of that game. Grayson McCall looks like serious injury sustained for the NC State quarterback as he is going to be out. Hey, thanks to everyone who joined the program. Thanks to Chuck Esposito, Mike Sanford, Matt Humans, Chris Doring, and Gino Toretta. Thanks to producer Dustin Sweetelson. Thanks to everyone behind the scenes. Live Bet Saturday coming up next. A host of characters: Patrick Maher, Jeff Schwartz, Wes Reynolds, JVT, Dave Ross. Then Ready, Set, Bet at 7 o'clock tonight, and the football contest show at 9 o'clock, hosted by Matt Brown and Mike Somich. I'm your host, Tim Murray. We're back later this week on VSiN with the college football betting podcast. This has been the VSiN College Football Tailgate Show.
The only thing better than football is the excitement of all